Michael, what's today's audio topic?
Today we're comparing SHANLING's EH2 with its discrete R2R DAC and SMSL's SUX, featuring ESS's ES9039 Pro.
So it's a comparison between a discrete DAC and a DA converter using ESS's top-tier DAC chip. Master, you want to hear the comparison between the EH2 and SUX2, right?
Yes, I want to hear it.
How did the two sound?
Since there are R2R and ΔΣ DACs, the sound was quite different.
I see. What about the prices?
SHANLING's EH2 is $400, while SMSL's SUX is $999, over twice as expensive.
What equipment did you use?
The source was Qobuz, the network streamer was LinkPlay's WM Ultra, the amp was SMSL's PA400, and the speakers were B&W's 805D4. I compared the SHANLING EH2 and SMSL SUX DACs.
What are the spec sheets for both units?
Here's the spec sheet. Let's go through each item. The biggest difference in features is whether they have a built-in headphone amp. The EH2 has both a 4.4mm balanced and a 6.35mm single-ended headphone jack. The SUX has a volume control, but no headphone jack.
I see.
The biggest difference in sound quality lies in the DA conversion section.
Discrete DAC versus a generic DAC chip, right?
Exactly. The EH2 uses a proprietary discrete DAC with an R2R method, while the SUX employs dual ESS ES9039 Pro chips. Even though it's a commodity chip, the ES9039 Pro is ESS's flagship DAC chip. The SUX incorporates two of these, one for each channel.
SHANLING's proprietary R2R method versus the flagship DAC chip from ESS, one of the two major DAC manufacturers. I'm curious which sounds better.
ESS's DAC chips have high specifications, so the numerical values representing the sound quality of the two units differ quite a bit. The SN ratio is 118 dB for the EH2, while the SUX achieves 128 dB via RCA and 135 dB via XLR, making the SUX superior here. Additionally, THD is 0.02% for the EH2 and a mere 0.00005% for the SUX, with the SUX being significantly lower. Looking solely at these numbers, the SUX appears overwhelmingly superior.
But R2R DACs have qualities that don't show up in the specs, right?
You've learned your stuff, John. Still, with such a big difference in the numbers, it's hard not to wonder.
By the way, does the ES9039 Pro have oversampling and non-oversampling modes like the EH2?
That's only for R2R designs. ΔΣ designs only exist in oversampling mode.
Why doesn't ΔΣ have a non-oversampling option?
It's natural to wonder since many R2R products let you switch between oversampling, OS, and non-oversampling, in OS. Fundamentally, the ΔΣ mechanism itself is built on the premise of oversampling.
Really?
Let me explain why, comparing it to the R2R method. The ΔΣ method used in common DAC chips from ESS or AKM reproduces sound by drastically reducing the number of data bits while simultaneously increasing the sampling frequency to the absolute limit. The R2R method can convert 16-bit or 24-bit data directly into voltage using a multi-stage ladder network, preserving the original precision. That's why it enables, in OS, no oversampling, output at the original sampling rate. Internally, the ΔΣ method processes data at an extremely low bit depth of 1 to several bits. As is, it's noise-ridden and unfit for music. However, it achieves high sound quality by performing noise shaping, rapidly switching, oversampling, at extreme speeds to push noise out of the audible range. In other words, for the ΔΣ method, stopping oversampling negates its fundamental operating principle. Therefore, oversampling is inherently essential for the ΔΣ method. The R2R method is the only approach that can produce sound without oversampling.
Wasn't the R2R method the mainstream approach back then? Why did the ΔΣ method become widespread?
Good question. R2R DACs were dominant until the 1980s, but R2R fell out of favor. There are three reasons. First, resistor accuracy issues. R2R directly translates resistor tolerance errors into distortion. Achieving theoretical 16-bit performance requires 0.001% accuracy. Mass production was difficult. Second, high cost. Compared to handling precision resistors, temperature management, and individual unit adjustments, the ΔΣ method became cheaper and offered higher performance. Third, the rise of measurement-centric thinking. From the 1990s onward, metrics like SN ratio, dynamic range, and THD gained prominence. When comparing measured values, the ΔΣ method dominated. As a result, the R2R method nearly vanished from the market.
So why is R2R making a comeback now?
That's the key point. There are 3 reasons for the resurgence of R2R. First, FPGA plus high-precision resistors became feasible. Improvements in resistor accuracy, advances in matching technology, and error correction via FPGA, things impossible back then, are now achievable.
What was FPGA again?
I explained it before. FPGA stands for Field Programmable Gate Array. It's the technology that implements custom signal processing algorithms and DA conversion circuits. It enables ultra-high speed, high-precision filtering, allowing jitter to be reduced to the absolute minimum. Second, diversification of good sound standards. Even with good specs, more people started finding ΔΣ conversion cold, flat, and tiring to listen to. A shift toward prioritizing musicality and auditory experience over raw specifications emerged. Third, growing demand for sounds different from ΔΣ. Current ΔΣ conversion is precise, clean, and has minimal character, but conversely, it tends to sound similar. The R2R method offers distinctly different sound density, spatiality, and texture. That's why R2R has become sought after by those who've grown tired of ΔΣ.
I see. So technological progress and changing demand led to the rise of R2R.
With ΔΣ, you only get the OS. But with R2R methods like the EH2, you can switch between OS and in-OS modes for enjoyment, offering better value. Getting back to the specs, the maximum supported PCM frequency is 768 kHz, and DSD is 512 for both, identical. Digital inputs. The EH2 has USB-C, coaxial, optical, and Bluetooth. The SUX has USB-B, USB-C, coaxial, optical, AES, EBU, I2S, and Bluetooth, making the SUX more comprehensive. Analog outputs for the EH2 are RCA and 4.4 mm balanced, while the SUX has RCA and XLR. Considering it as a desktop DAC, the SUX offers more comprehensive connectivity. Power supply. The EH2 uses a 12 volts adapter, while the SUX has an internal power supply. The EH2 likely uses an AC adapter to keep the chassis compact. The EH2 lacks a display, while the SUX has a small color display. Since the SUX allows various settings, the display is necessary. The EH2 also lacks a remote control, whereas the SUX includes one. The EH2's low price despite being a discrete DAC is achieved by omitting components unrelated to sound quality. Dimensions. EH2 is 156 by 150 by 36.5 mm and weighs 713 grams. SUX is 250 by 217 by 51 mm and weighs 2.7 kilograms. The EH2 is very compact. Overall, the SUX has more features and is a more versatile DAC for desktop use.
How do the two actually sound?
The EH2's in-OS sound has lower resolution and feels like it has lower SN, but I definitely feel it has a certain passion for music. The EH2 OS sound resembles ΔΣ conversion, making me feel like the unique character of the R2R method is lost. On the other hand, the SUX is the pinnacle of ΔΣ conversion, high resolution with excellent SN. Its sharp sound might cause listening fatigue.
So the difference in DA conversion methods really shows in the sound, huh?
Exactly. The EH2 uses R2R, so you could say it has a distinctive sound.
Michael, which one do you prefer out of the two?
I like the ΔΣ-based SUX better. The EH2's unique sound isn't bad either, but if I had to choose, I prefer the high-resolution SUX.
So you think ΔΣ is better than R2R?
I've only tried the R2R method with the EH2, so it's too early to say for sure. If I tried a higher quality R2R DAC, the result might be different.
Michael, you're so level-headed.
I've tried several ΔΣ DACs over the years, but I've only tried one R2R so far.
True. I'd also like to hear some different discrete component DACs. Master, which one did you think was better, the EH2 or the SUX?
I don't know.
If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel.